Yesterday, Saraji explained that kusala and wholesomeness are the ones which get rid of or cut the kind of wholesomeness that are lying in the person in a way of detestable or contemptible condition. And when it is said that removing or abandoning, there are two kinds of removing and abandoning. And they are removing, abandoning the unwholesomeness, and the second one is removing, abandoning the result. So there are two kinds of removing, two kinds of abandoning the unwholesomeness. That is, not giving way for the kilesa, not giving way for the unwholesomeness to arise, not giving any chance for unwholesomeness to arise. It is one way of removing, abandoning the unwholesomeness. And the other way is, if the unwholesomeness arises, one removes or abandons right away. So these two are two ways of removing or abandoning the unwholesomeness. So when performing dana, the person who has attachment in his or her belonging, his or her possession, will not be offering dana. And the person who does not develop metta, karuna, loving kindness and compassion towards the person who receives the dana, then she is not able to do dana. And if the person cannot bear others having to do with his or her possession, then if she cannot bear to share one's belonging with others, then she will not be able to perform dana. And if the person does not have volition, cetana, and even if she has volition, if the volition is not strong enough, then she is not able to perform dana. So, in order to perform dana, one should have loving kindness, wanting the welfare of others, having compassion towards the person who receives the dana, and also being happy to share one's possessions with others. And one should also have volition. So if one has these factors, then the person can easily perform dana. So by this way, by being free from unwholesome states, she is able to perform kusala, wholesomeness. So in place of lobha, the person is replacing wholesomeness in the place of lobha. She is replacing or substituting wholesomeness in the place of dosa, anger, matsuriya, stinginess, and so on. And also having prudence that it is not good to have lobha and dosa, then one overcomes the lobha dosa, one removes the lobha dosa so that the lobha dosa will become weaker and weaker. So, removing the unwholesomeness, there are two ways to do it. The first way is not to give any chance for the unwholesomeness to arise. And the second way is, even if the unwholesomeness arises, one removes or abandons right away. So just now, Sayadaw explained how unwholesomeness is abandoned or removed by the opposite, which is Dhamma. So, killing, stealing, having sexual misconduct, lying, taking intoxicants, these are the misconduct by body and speech. So one should refrain from these misconduct by body and speech. So there should be Veramani, abstaining, refraining from these misconduct. So in the example, if there is a place where the contagious diseases, contagious illnesses are taking place, one needs to avoid oneself from going to these places where there are the breakout of these contagious diseases. If one cannot avoid oneself from going to such places, then one can become afflicted with these illness, and it can even lead to death. So one should avoid oneself from going to these places. So in the same way, the misconduct by body and speech should be refrained and avoided. So if one is committing these misconduct, then one will be losing one's reputation or virtue, and these misconducts can make the person to be inhumane. And also, other people can get hurt, so these misconducts are also creating suffering for others. So these misconducts are detestable, contemptible, rude, gross, because these misconducts are associating with raga, dosa, moha, and so on. So these misconducts are contemptible because they are associating with lust, anger, and delusion. And by indulging in these raga, dosa, moha, one will be transgressing, committing these misconducts, and one will get bad consequences, and that's why these misconducts are detestable and contemptible. So one should avoid, one should refrain oneself from doing misconduct. Even if the person has done misconduct, one should have the determination that I will not do such misconduct again. So in this way, one should have this resolution, determination not to do such misconduct again. So these misconducts should be refrained, these misconducts should be avoided and refrained. Even if one had committed misconduct, one should make a vow not to commit these misconduct again in life. So it is a way of how to prevent and cure these misconduct by body and speech. So there are two kinds of removing or abandoning these misconducts. Because these misconducts are mixed up or because these misconducts are associating with raga dosa, by indulging in these raga dosa, there will be bad consequences. So knowing that these transgressions and misconduct are things to be shameful or things to be frightening, then one will have moral shame and moral fear from these transgression and misconduct. So in this way, the person will be developing hiri and ottappa, so one can refrain from the misconduct and transgression by the power, by the strength of hiri ottappa, moral shame and moral fear. And also, one can refrain from transgression and misconduct out of metta and karuna. Having metta and karuna towards other people, one is able to refrain from misconduct and transgression. So, for the ones who have respect of one's own reputation and virtue, has hiri, moral shame. And the ones who respect others have moral fear. So this hiri, ottappa, moral shame and moral fear, is developed in the person who has respect on one's own reputation and also others. And by knowing that these misconducts and transgressions are shameworthy and frightening, one will regard one's own reputation, and thus one will refrain from transgression and misconduct. And also, one will respect others, so with regard to other people, one will also refrain from misconduct and transgression. So by refraining from these transgression and misconduct, one's reputation will become higher, and one will also be morally uplifted, and he/she is also said to be uplifting his or her virtue. So by refraining from these misconduct and transgression, it is not only the person who gets the benefit, but also the surrounding will get protected automatically, because he/she is refraining from transgression and misconduct. So in this way, by refraining oneself from doing misconduct and transgression, other people are automatically protected, and one is said to have genuine welfare. One is said to have the true wish for the welfare of others. So there will be patience, forgiveness, sacrifice, and also there will be compassion, consideration towards others. One will have compassion towards others, that if I do not like to be hurt, others will be the same. Others do not like to be hurt. They do not want to live in fear. So in this way, having compassion towards others, one refrains oneself so that other people are automatically protected from being hurt. So by protecting others from being hurt, one also automatically control oneself so as not to commit misconduct and transgression. So whichever way it is, if one refrains from misconduct and transgression with regard to one's own reputation, or respecting others, or having compassion, consideration towards others, whichever way it is, any way it is, good to refrain from these transgression and misconduct. By refraining from these misconduct with moral shame and moral fear, one is said to have compassion towards others, and one is said to be protecting others from being hurt. So in this way, his or her body and speech will become blameless, faultless. So in Pali it is called Anapana, being blameless and faultless. So when morality, sila, is observed, his or her body and speech will be blameless, faultless, pure and clean. So it is hiri and oddappa, moral shame and moral fear, which is making one's body and speech purified. So that's why this hiri oddappa, moral shame and moral fear, is called sukha dhamma, because this moral shame and moral fear purifies the person's body and speech, so that the person's body and speech will become pure, tamed, cultured, gentle. So it is just like the white color. So just as the white color can repel heat, in the same way, hiri oddappa also repels unwholesomeness and misconduct. So, if one commits misconduct, there will be remorse, there will be regret, remorse and fear. So these regret, remorse and fear are not good because they are burning. At the time of committing misconduct, it is burning, and also after one has done misconduct, one will be burning with remorse and regret. That's why the misconduct should be refrained, so that one will not be burning in regret or remorse, but one's mind will be peaceful. So by refraining from these misconduct, one will benefit immediately. That is, anapana, one will have the benefit of blamelessness, faultlessness. So having this hiri and oddappa, which are called sukha dhamma, so having this moral shame and moral fear, one is said to be protecting one's own world from being ruined. So one is said to be protecting, guarding one's own world from being ruined. At the same time, she is contributing to peace in the surroundings. So nowadays, people lack hiri and oddappa. Lack of hiri and oddappa, there are transgressions such as tormenting, torturing, killing, taking other people's belongings by force, having sexual misconduct. So even fathers do sexual misconduct with their own daughter, and also there can be lying, taking intoxicants. So these transgressions are overwhelming the world. So the person who commits these misconducts are destroying their own world as well as disturbing the surrounding world. That's why these misconducts are destroying the world. So if there is hiri and uttapa, having moral shame and moral fear, the world will be protected. That's why hiri uttapa are called lokapala, guardian or protection of the world. Having morality, one's virtue will shine. So sila, morality, uplifts the person, whoever practices this morality, so that the practitioner of morality will not be degraded or inferior. So in this way, sila, morality, uplifts the person so that he/she will shine with virtue. So that's why this sila is the best adornment that suits everyone of any age. And this hiri uttapa, moral shame and moral fear, makes the person shine with virtue. That's why it is also called Deva Dhamma. So the opposite of hiri and uttapa is called ahirika anuttapa, lack of moral shame and moral fear. So when the person does not have shame or fear from these misconducts, they commit these misconducts without having moral shame and moral fear. So ahirika, lack of moral shame, is compared to an animal which takes feces, which likes to take feces. So for the person who knows that feces are disgusting, but for some kind of animals, they like to take feces, they like to eat feces. So this ahirika, lack of moral shame, is compared to eating feces by animals. And also the anuttapa, lack of moral fear, is compared to moth or small kind of insects which go after light. So these small insects, they go after light, and when they come into contact with the light, they die. So these small insects, they are going after light and they die happily when coming into contact with light. So this example of these small insects going after light without having fear, dying happily in light, dying happily by coming into light, is compared to anuttapa, lack of moral fear. So nowadays, people are lacking moral conduct. So most of the people are lacking moral shame and moral fear. Because these people lack moral shame and moral fear, they are doing misconduct, they are committing transgression, relishingly and daringly, and it is very frightening. Buddha said that every being is afraid of danger. So setting oneself as example, having compassion towards others, one should not kill, one should not torture or hurt others. So one should refrain from killing, torturing, tormenting, hurting or harassing others out of compassion. And also other kinds of misconduct should also be refrained with compassion towards others. So refraining from these misconduct by body and speech, it is the discipline that every worldling, every people on earth should follow. So refraining from these misconduct is the discipline, the human discipline, world discipline, moral conduct that should be observed by everyone on earth. So by living according to this human discipline, then one's quality and virtue will be shining and one will be uplifted, morally uplifted. So it is the norm. If the person fails to abide by the discipline, then she will be morally degraded, she will be losing one's reputation, she will be very dim and hazy. So that's why it is very important to refrain from the misconduct. So those who are here, you should rejoice in your precepts that you are observing precepts every day, so you should be rejoicing in your precepts. So the mental misconduct cannot simply be refrained. So wanting the ordinary kind of sense object, wanting to see good sight, wanting to hear good sound, wanting to smell good fragrance, wanting to eat good taste, and so on, and wanting to take other people's belonging by force, wanting to kill others, torment others. So these mental misconduct cannot simply be refrained, but these mental misconduct should be prevented, should be cured. So one should prevent and cure these mental misconduct by being mindful of whatever object that is arising at the moment. So by being mindful of the presently arising object, whenever one sees, whenever one hears, tastes, touches, smells, bending, stretching, rising, falling, and so on, when the noted mind falls on the object of meditation, the mind will be free from these mental misconduct. There will be no greed, wanting to see good things. There will not be wanting to hear good sound when the noting mind falls on the object of meditation. So when there is samatha, when there is concentration, when the mind is calm and collected on the object, these defilements such as greed, hatred, has no chance to arise. So by being mindful, one is not giving any chance for these mental misconduct to arise. And even if these mental misconduct arise, one should be mindful of them right away in the way of Satipatthana meditation. So when there is greed, one should note as greed. When there is wanting, one should note it as wanting. When one is angry, then note as angry. When one feels depressed, note as depressed. When one feels discouraged, note it as discouraged. When there is doubt, note it as doubt. If you fail to note, if you forget something, note as forgetting. So in this way, one should cure it right away when these mental misconduct arises. So in this way, these mental misconduct should be prevented. One should be mindful of the presently arising object so that one is preventing these mental misconduct from arising. And even when these mental misconduct arise, one should note them right away. So it is the way of curing these mental misconduct. So by preventing, curing these mental misconduct, there will be kusala, wholesomeness. So there will be kusala, the way of removing, abandoning the unwholesomeness that is detestable or contemptible. So the wrongful body, speech and mind which had arisen in the past, just like this conditioned phenomena, they had arisen and passed away. But these wrongful body, speech and mind, this wrongful action, wrongful deeds by body, speech and mind that had arisen in the past, even though they had passed away, they leave the potency or the potential that will give bad results. So even though these bad deeds had passed away, they leave the potency to give bad results. So the fruit that is bitter or sour, they leave the potency or the gene for this bitter or sour fruit to give, to arise again. So in the same way, the unwholesome deeds, even though they had come to a dissolution, but they leave the potency or the potential to give bad results whenever there is opportunity. So the unwholesomeness that was done in the past cannot be removed. So even this Lokotara Kusala, even the supramundane wholesomeness cannot remove the unwholesome deeds that have been done in the past. And also the unwholesomeness that is to arise in the future cannot be removed. So what could be removed is the bad result, which is the result of the past bad deeds, could be removed when one attains Ariya Magga Jnana, when the person attains the supramundane path knowledge, she can remove the bad results by these past deeds, past bad deeds. So by attaining Sotapatti Magga Jnana, by attaining the first stage of past knowledge, the person can remove Ditthi and Sakkaya, wrong view and acceptable doubt. So in this way, by attaining the Sotapatti Magga Jnana, by attaining the Sotapatti Magga Jnana, one could remove the bad results, which are the result of the bad deeds one had done in the past. So by attaining Sotapatti Magga Jnana, one can overcome the gross form of raga dosa. It could be removed by attaining Magga Jnana so that the gross form of raga and dosa will not arise again. So in this way, by gaining Sotapatti Magga Jnana, one can remove or one can abandon the bad result, which is a result of unwholesome deed that is done in the past. So by practicing Satipatthana meditation, is to remove the bad result, the result of the bad deed one had done in the past. And also, one is practicing Satipatthana meditation so as not to perform the bad deed which is similar to the bad deed one had done in the past. So in this way, by gaining Ariya Magga Jnana, by gaining the supramundane path knowledge, the bad results as a result of bad deed one had done will be removed. So one should practice Satipatthana meditation so that the person attains supramundane path knowledge so that she could remove the bad results. So one should exert effort in the practice. One should practice diligently because this practice has a guarantee to remove the bad results. So these Dhamma were taught by the Buddha. So this Dhamma is not imaginary. It is not imaginary. So Buddha taught the Dhamma what Buddha had found through the Buddha's practice. So Buddha is called Samma Sambuddha because Buddha knew correctly all the things that should be known. Buddha was called Sambuddha because Buddha knew these things to be known by himself. So Buddha did not learn from anyone else. Buddha found out these Dhamma by himself. So Buddha knew the Four Noble Truths, Dukkha Satya, the truth of suffering, Samudaya Satya, the origin of suffering, and Magga Satya, the truth of the noble path, and then Nirodha Satya, the truth of cessation of all suffering. And also Buddha knew everything that should be known. So in the world, there are professors and scientists. Although they invented things, there are things that are right and that are wrong. So what these professors know are right, and also there are things that are wrong. But what Buddha knew all are right. There is no wrong thing that Buddha knew. That's why it is called Samma. Buddha knew correctly. So combining these two, Samma and Sambuddha, it becomes Samma Sambuddha because Buddha knew everything that should be known correctly by himself without learning from any other person. And the teaching of the Buddha is called Swakhata. If the person practices accordingly to the correct method, then she will get definite correct answer. So one should practice respectfully, meticulously, diligently, so that one will get the definite true answer through practice. So the yogis who are here, you should be rejoicing because you are accumulating wholesomeness day by day. So every day you are accumulating wholesomeness, the wholesomeness that has the quality or the ability to remove the unwholesomeness. So that's why you should be practicing diligently so that you will be accumulating this wholesomeness which has this quality of removing unwholesomeness. So you are very fortunate to be here. You are very fortunate to have the opportunity to come and practice the wholesome deeds. So today the hour is up, so Sayadaw will continue to explain the next day. Sadhu, sadhu.